Hey guys, tonight's story starts with a strange heaviness, a floor colder than river pebbles, and a cockerel that clearly blames you for the state of the world. You've just woken up somewhere unfamiliar. A low-thatched cottage, no electricity, and the smell of boiled onions and wet sheep hanging in the air like it owns the place. There's no phone, no coffee, no explanation, just a grunt from a woman who hands you a hunk of brown bread and walks away like you're the odd one. And somehow this is your life now. So before you get too comfortable, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this strange little corner of quiet storytelling. And drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's strangely comforting to know who else is drifting off with us around the world. Now get comfortable. Let the day melt away and we'll drift back together into the quiet corners of the past. You wake up with your face buried in hay. Not the soft, golden, fairy tale hay. Real hay. Stiff, dusty, smelling of old rainwater and the memory of cows. A shaft of pale morning light pushes through a gap in the wall like a tired ghost. There is a snore beside your head. You turn, and a shaggy dog lies there, belly rising and falling, one ear inside out. It opens one eye, regards you as if you owe it rent, then closes the eye again. The silence is enormous. No refrigerator hum, no passing car, no phone vibrating. Only a rooster outside, crowing with the fury of a landlord demanding payment. You sit up and your back makes a sound like a creaking door. The mattress is a sack of straw laid over a wooden frame. No pillow, no blanket, only a coarse wool covering that smells like smoke and long-dead fire. The room is small and dark, built of rough planks. A small window is covered with something thin and translucent that might be animal hide. The floor is packed dirt, cold as a tomb. You swing your feet down and curl your toes against the chill. You are wearing a long, scratchy tunic and thick woolen socks that have definitely been worn by someone else. There is no mirror, but you can feel that your hair has given up. You search for your phone. Your hand slaps only your own thigh. No pocket, no screen, no modern world. A wooden bowl sits on a stump. Inside is a lump of gray porridge with a skin on top. It looks like it has been waiting for you for hours. You eat it because the alternative is to cry, and your stomach is louder than your pride. The door creaks open. A man enters, broad, bearded, with hands like shovels. He says nothing. He places a bucket at your feet. Then he leaves. The message is clear. You step outside. The village hits you all at once. Mud paths, low roofs, thin smoke rising from a dozen chimneys. A child runs past chasing a goose. A woman carries a bundle of sticks on her back and glares at you as if you personally caused the weather. The sky is gray and heavy, but it does not rain yet. You find the well in the center of the village. A stone circle, a wooden crank, a rope thick as your wrist. You lower the bucket. It clatters against the water far below. You haul it up hand over hand. The rope burns your palms, and the bucket sloshes, but you manage. An old woman watches from a doorway. She nods once. That nod feels like a passport stamp. This becomes your first task. Water. Back and forth. Back and forth. The path from the well to the cottage is not long, but it is uneven and puddled. Your arms ache. Your feet slide. The bucket bangs against your shin. But after a while, your body finds a rhythm. The repetitive work quiets the panic in your chest. You stop thinking about Wi-Fi and start thinking about the water. The way it sloshes. The way it reflects the gray sky. The way your breath fogs in the cold air. That evening, you sit on the floor with the dog. The dog has decided you are tolerable. He rests his chin on your knee and farts without shame. You feed him a corner of bread. It is so hard you worry for his teeth. He crunches it anyway. The man from before returns. This time he speaks. Name's Bram. You'll work. That is the whole conversation. He tosses you a blanket and leaves. You wrap the blanket around your shoulders and lie down in the hay. Sleep comes fast, but it is not peaceful. It is the sleep of the exhausted. You wake again to the sound of rain on the roof. The dog has stolen your blanket. The fire has died. Bram is already at the door, holding a wooden axe handle. He does not say good morning. He says, wood. You follow him outside, where a pile of logs waits near the tree line. The air smells of wet earth and pine. He demonstrates a single swing. The log splits cleanly. Then he hands you the axe. You swing. The axe bounces off the wood with a dull, disrespectful thud. Bram says nothing. You swing again. And again. By midday, Your hands are blistered and your arms are shaking. You have split a small pile of logs. It is not impressive, but it is enough. Bram picks up a log, turns it over, and grunts. You decide that is praise. The next day, he leads you to the edge of the village, where a low fence has collapsed. He hands you a bundle of thin branches and a mallet. Fix it. You kneel in the mud and begin weaving the branches between posts. The work is slow and fiddly. Your fingers are cold and clumsy. A chicken wanders over and watches you with the blank, judgmental stare of a creature that has never paid taxes. It pecks at your boot. You shoo it away. It returns. You throw a clod of dirt. It leaves, offended. You keep weaving. By the end of the day, the fence is not beautiful, but it stands. Bram examines it, presses a hand against it, and says, "It'll hold." You feel a small, unexpected flicker of pride. The market comes once a week. It appears in the village square like a temporary city. Stalls are made of rough wood and cloth. The smells are overwhelming. Fresh bread, smoked fish, damp wool, boiling onions, and the sour tang of unwashed bodies. You walk through the crowd, clutching a few thin coins Bram gave you. A man with a missing tooth sells pies from a basket. You buy one. The crust is greasy and warm. The first bite is glorious. The second bite reveals a filling that is mostly brown and mysterious. It might be mutton. It might be pigeon. It might be regret. But you eat it anyway. The market is loud and chaotic. A girl sells bundles of herbs. A boy wrestles a goat. A woman argues with a potter about the size of a bowl. No one looks at their phone. No one is bored. Everyone is fully, achingly present. On the seventh day, a bell rings. The village gathers at a small stone chapel at the top of a low hill. Inside, the air is cold and heavy with incense. The walls are bare except for a few painted wooden saints. You kneel on the stone floor. Your knees protest. The priest speaks in a language you do not fully understand, but the rhythm is soothing. The congregation rises, sits, kneels, murmurs. You are always half a beat behind. Your shoes scrape. An old man beside you offers a small smile, as if to say, "You'll learn." The service feels ancient, not in a museum way, but in a lived-in way. The prayers have been said in this same room by people who are now dust. You feel small. You feel connected. When it ends, Bram says, "You stayed awake." It is, you realize, a high compliment. That evening, the village holds a small gathering. A bonfire crackles in the square. Someone has brought out a fiddle. Someone else has brought out a drum that sounds like a wet sack. The music is terrible and wonderful. A woman pulls you to your feet. You dance. You are bad at it. Your feet tangle. Your arms flail. But no one cares. A man hands you a cup of something dark and sharp. It tastes like fermented apples and smoke. You drink it, and for a moment the cold fades and the fire is the only thing that matters. Then the rain returns. It does not fall. It throws itself at the earth. The path turns to soup. You are carrying water from the well when your foot slips. The bucket flies. You land on your side in the mud. The water soaks through your tunic. You lie there for a moment, staring up at the gray sky, and you want to cry. Not because you are hurt, but because you are tired. Because everything is heavy and cold and unfamiliar. Because you miss the quiet hum of your old life. But then the dog appears, sniffing your ear. He whines. You sit up, wipe the mud from your face, and laugh. It is a small, broken laugh, but it is real. You stand. You pick up the bucket. You walk back to the well. One afternoon, an old man named Tam calls you over. He is mending a harness by his door. "Hold this," he says. You hold the leather while he works. He does not speak much, but when he finishes, he says, "You're not useless." It is the kindest thing anyone has said to you in weeks. You shake his hand. His palm is rough as bark. "Neighbor," he says. The word lands in your chest and stays there. The harvest comes. The whole village gathers in the fields. The wheat is golden and heavy. You work in a line, bent over, cutting with a curved blade. The work is brutal. Your back screams. Your hands bleed. But the rhythm of it is hypnotic. There is a kind of music in the swish of the blades and the laughter of the workers. At the end of the day, a cart is piled high with sheaves. Everyone cheers. You cheer too. Your voice is hoarse and happy. A woman named Edda gives you a slice of oat cake. It is plain and dry, but it tastes like victory. You begin to know the village by its sounds. The clang of the blacksmith, the bleat of sheep, the shrill scolding of a woman named Hulda, the church bell, the creak of the well. You know which path floods, which roof leaks, which dog will follow you for bread. The place is no longer a blur of strangeness. It is a world with rules and textures and small kindnesses. You still miss coffee. You miss it with a deep, physical ache. But you learn to drink hot water with herbs. You learn to eat without a screen. You learn to sit in silence and listen to the wind. You learn that your mind is not always a good room, but you can still breathe in it. One night, you sit outside with Pickle, the shaggy dog. The sky is a deep, star-crusted black. You have never seen so many stars in your life. No streetlights, no pollution, just the old, holy sky. You feel small and safe at the same time. Pickle rests his head on your leg. The fire pops. Somewhere a goat bleats. You do not check your phone. You do not wonder what time it is. You simply sit. And for the first time since you arrived, you feel something close to peace. The next morning, Bram does not come for you. You wait by the door, the dog at your feet, both of you listening. The village is unusually quiet. The rooster has crowed, but no one is shouting. The bell does not ring. You step outside into a world of white mist. It curls around the cottages like breath from a giant mouth. You cannot see more than a few feet ahead. The paths are gone. The walls are gone. You are alone in a soft, dreamlike fog. For a moment, you feel a sharp spike of panic. Where is everyone? Have they left you? But then a figure emerges from the mist, leading a cow by a rope. It is Bram. He sees you, stops, and says, "Fog day. No work." He does not explain further. He just continues walking, and the cow follows, its bell clanking dully. You stand in the doorway, watching the fog swallow them whole. It is the first day of rest you have had since arriving. You do not know what to do with yourself. So you sit on the step. The dog curls up beside you. The silence is so total you can hear your own heartbeat. It is terrifying. It is beautiful. The fog lifts by midday, and the village returns to its routines. But something has shifted. You have seen the world stop, and it did not end. You carry that with you like a stone in your pocket. Autumn arrives like a slow bleed. The leaves at the edge of the forest turn from green to rust to blood. The air becomes crisp, and the mornings are edged with frost. You are given more clothes, a thick woolen cloak that smells of lanolin and old rain. It is heavy, but it holds the heat. Your work changes with the season. The fields must be harvested, the wood must be stacked, the animals must be moved to lower pastures. You learn to swing a scythe, not well, but well enough. The motion is a dance of hips and shoulders and breath. The first time you cut a clean swath of wheat, you stop and stare at the fallen stalks. There is a satisfaction in it that no screen has ever given you. The old men nod. The women laugh at your blisters, but not unkindly. Etta, the woman with biceps like oak roots, gives you a salve made of goose fat and herbs. It stings, but the next day your hands are tougher. The dog has become your shadow. You learn his name is Pickle, which seems absurd for a creature so serious. He follows you to the well, to the fields, to the chapel. He is not affectionate, not in the way of modern dogs. He does not wag his tail wildly or lick your face. But he sleeps at your feet, and when you sit by the fire, he rests his head on your knee. That is enough. You talk to him sometimes, not because you expect answers, but because your own voice is the only thing that reminds you of who you were. You tell him about traffic lights and supermarkets and the sound of 1,000 notifications. He listens with the patience of a creature who has never known anything but mud and sheep and the slow turn of seasons. You do not know if he understands. It does not matter. The village has its own calendar, measured in work and light and the changing color of the sky. You stop thinking in days of the week. You think in tasks. Water day, wood day, fence day, market day, chapel day, harvest day. There is a rhythm to it, a pulse. Your body settles into it like a stone sinking into a riverbed. One evening, you are sitting outside the cottage, mending a basket by firelight, when a boy of perhaps 8 years comes and sits beside you. He has a runny nose and a gap-toothed grin. His name is Ren. He asks where you come from. You hesitate. What can you say? That you woke up here from a world of glowing boxes and flying machines. That your hands have never held a scythe until now. You tell him you come from a far-off place. He nods, satisfied. He says, "Everyone says you fell out of the sky." You laugh, and the sound surprises you. It has been weeks since you laughed. Ren laughs too, though he does not know why. Then he asks if you have any sweets. You do not. He shrugs and runs off into the dusk. The dog watches him go, unimpressed. The nights grow longer. The cold becomes a living thing. It creeps under the door, settles in the corners, wraps itself around your bones. You sleep in your cloak, with Pickle pressed against your side. His warmth is small but real. In the morning, the water in the bucket is crusted with ice. You break it with your heel and haul it to the cottage. Bram shows you how to bank the fire so it lasts through the night. You learn the language of embers and ash. You begin to understand the village not as a place, but as a people. There is Hulda, who yells at everyone but leaves bread on your step when you are too tired to walk to the market. There is Tam, who mends leather and says little. There is Ren, who asks endless questions. There is Etta, who works harder than any 3 men and never complains. There is the priest, whose name you cannot pronounce, but who blesses you every Sunday with a hand on your head. There is Bram, who speaks in grunts but once carried you inside when you fell asleep against a wall. And there is Pickle, who is not a person, but who understands you better than any person ever has. You begin to feel less like a stranger. The mud on your boots is the same mud on everyone else's. The calluses on your hands are the same shape as theirs. You are not a visitor anymore. You are part of the story. And then the first snow falls, and everything changes. Winter does not knock. It simply moves in, hangs its white coat over every roof, and makes itself at home. The first snow from the end of part 1 was only a warning. The second snow comes 3 days later, and this time it stays. By morning, the world is silent under a thick white hush. The paths are gone. The well is a dark hole in a field of white. The trees at the edge of the forest bend under the weight, and now and then a branch snaps with a sound like a distant bone. You wake in the cottage with Pickle stretched across your legs. His fur smells of wet wool and smoke. The fire has burned low. Bram is already outside, clearing the step with a wooden shovel. He does not call for you. He does not need to. The work is simply there, waiting, as it always is. You pull on your heavy boots, wrap yourself in the woolen cloak Etta gave you, and step outside. The cold is not a temperature. It is a presence. It presses against your face, your chest, your hands. It finds the gaps in your clothing and settles there like a tenant who refuses to leave. Your breath hangs in the air before you. Pickle follows, stepping high through the snow, his breath puffing in little clouds. Bram hands you the shovel. Clear to the well, he says. That is all. The snow is wet and heavy. Each shovelful drags at your arms. Your back begins to ache almost immediately, but you find a rhythm. Push, lift, throw. Push, lift, throw. The path grows longer behind you, a narrow brown scar through the white. Pickle walks behind you, sniffing the exposed earth. A crow watches from the chapel roof, a black comma against the pale sky. By the time you reach the well, the sun is a pale smudge behind the clouds. Your hands are raw inside your gloves. But you have done it. The path is clear. You lower the bucket, hear it knock against the hidden water, and haul it up. The rope is stiff with cold. The water is so cold it burns your lips when you drink. You carry a full bucket back to the cottage, careful not to spill. Bram watches from the door. He says nothing, but he takes the bucket from you and sets it by the fire. That is his way. You have learned to read it. The days shorten. The nights stretch. Work becomes smaller but heavier. You feed the animals, haul water, split wood, bank the fire. There is always something. The pig must be fed. The hens must be checked. The goat has kicked a hole in the fence again. The snow must be cleared, not once but twice, 3 times, because the sky keeps giving. Your body hardens. Your mind quiets. You begin to understand that winter is not an enemy. It is a teacher. It teaches patience. It teaches endurance. It teaches that warmth is not a right, but a gift. Evenings are the best. The villagers gather in one cottage or another, taking turns. The fire is high. The smell of wet wool and boiling onions fills the room. Someone tells a story. Someone else sings. The children fall asleep on the floor, their faces pink from the heat. You sit on a low stool with Pickle at your feet, listening. You do not always understand the words, but you understand the rhythm. It is the rhythm of survival, of people holding the dark at bay with their voices. One night, Tam tells a story about the well. He says it was dug by his grandfather's grandfather, back when the village was nothing but a clearing in the forest. The well, he says, is the reason the village exists. Water is life. The well is the village's heart. If the well runs dry, he says, we all go. You look at the faces around the fire. They are not afraid. They are simply stating a fact. You realize you have never thought about water that way before. In your old life, water came from a tap. It was infinite. Here, it is sacred. The fever comes not with a warning, but with a betrayal. One evening, after clearing snow, you feel a tickle in your throat. You ignore it. The next morning, your head is heavy and your skin is hot. You go out anyway, because there is work. You haul one bucket, then another. By midday, the world begins to tilt. The sky spins. The snow rises up to meet you. You fall, and the cold is not cold anymore. It is almost soft. You wake in the cottage. The fire is roaring. Blankets cover you. Pickle lies across your legs, not moving. Edda is there, pressing a damp cloth to your forehead. She says something you do not catch. Her face is lined with worry. Bram is standing by the door, his arms crossed. Ren is sitting on the floor, watching with wide eyes. The whole room smells of herbs and smoke. You try to speak, but your throat is raw. Rest, Edda says. Not kind, but firm. You close your eyes. The fever rages for days. You drift in and out of dreams. Sometimes you are in the village, hauling water. Sometimes you are in a bright room with a glowing screen. Sometimes you hear a voice you do not know. Sometimes you hear pickle whine. You cannot hold on to time. It slips through your fingers like snow melt. When the fever breaks, you wake to silence. The fire is low. Pickle is still there, his head on your chest. Edda is asleep in a chair. Bram is gone. The light through the window is thin and gray. You are weak, but you are alive. You turn your head and see a small, smooth stone on the blanket. Ren, you close your hand around it. Recovery is slow. The first time you stand, your legs shake. Edda makes you sit back down. Not yet, she says. Bram brings you broth. It is thin and salty, but it is the best thing you have ever tasted. Pickle refuses to leave your side. The old women come to the door and murmur prayers. Ren visits every day, bringing news of the village. The goat escaped again. A fox took a hen. The snow is melting a little. He talks, and you listen, grateful for the sound of his voice. One afternoon, Bram comes and sits beside you. He does not speak for a long time. Then he says, "You almost died." It is not a question. You nod. He looks into the fire. "The village needs hands," he says. "But not dead hands." He stands and leaves. It is the most he has ever said to you. You understand. He was afraid. Not for the work, but for you. The snow begins to melt. The roof drips. The paths turn to mud. The air smells of wet earth and the promise of spring. You are still weak, but you begin to work again, slowly. You carry water, but only half full. You feed the animals, but you sit often. Bram does not push. Edda watches you with sharp eyes, but she does not stop you. Pickle stays close, as if afraid you will fall again. One evening, Ren asks if you will stay. The question hits you like a stone to the chest. You do not know how to answer. You think of your old life, the screens and the noise and the endless scrolling. You think of this life, the cold and the mud and the quiet. You think of Pickle, of Bram, of Edda, of Tam. You think of the well. You think of the small smooth stone in your pocket. "I don't know," you say. "It is the truth." Ren nods. "I hope you stay," he says. Then he runs off into the dusk, leaving you alone with the dog and the sound of dripping water. That night, you lie on your straw bed and listen to the thaw. The ice is cracking somewhere. The stream at the edge of the village is beginning to run. The world is waking up. You think about the fever, about the cold, about the hands that carried you inside. You think about the word Tam used. Neighbor. You are not sure when it happened, but somewhere in the long white dark, you stopped being a stranger. You became something else. Something that belongs. The first bird sings before dawn. It is a small, tentative note, as if testing the air. You sit up and listen. Pickle lifts his head. The sky through the window is still gray, but there is a softness now. A shift. The worst of winter is over. You pull on your boots and step outside. The air is cold, but not cruel. The snow is shrinking, revealing patches of brown earth. The roof drips. The path is mud. The well stands in the center of the village, waiting. You walk to it. You lower the bucket. You hear it hit the water, deep and clear. You haul it up, hand over hand. The rope is wet. The bucket is heavy. Your arms remember. Your body remembers. You are still here. And for the first time, that feels like enough. Spring comes slowly, then all at once. The snow melts into the earth. and the paths become rivers of mud. The air is thick with the smell of wet soil and waking roots. The village stretches itself, groaning like an old man rising from a long sleep. Doors creak open. Windows are unshuttered. Children spill into the lanes like water from a burst dam. Their laughter is sharp and bright after the long silence of winter. You stand in the doorway of the cottage, Pickle at your side, and watch the world come back to life. Your body is still thin from the fever, but your hands no longer shake when you carry water. Your legs remember how to walk through mud. Your lungs remember how to breathe the soft, green air. Bram puts a wooden spade in your hand. Planting, he says. That is all. You follow him to a plot of earth behind the cottage. The soil is dark and rich, turned over from the last harvest. He shows you how to dig furrows, how deep to press the seeds, how to cover them without packing the earth too tight. His hands move with the confidence of a man who has done this 1,000 times. Yours fumble, but you learn. You plant beans and peas and rows of pale onion sets. Your back aches. Your knees sink into the cold mud. But there is something holy about the work. You are putting life into the ground. You are part of the turning. The whole village plants. It is not the frantic work of harvest. It is slower, more hopeful. The men and women move through the fields like figures in an old painting. The children chase birds away, waving their arms and shrieking. Wren follows you around, asking questions you cannot answer. Why do seeds grow, he asks. Why is the dirt black? Will the beans be as tall as me? You tell him you do not know, and he seems satisfied, as if not knowing is the most natural thing in the world. Edda gives you a small pouch of seeds for the little plot beside your door. Herbs, she says, for your porridge, and for the dog. You plant them carefully, pressing each seed into the dark soil. Pickle watches from the doorstep, unimpressed. He is more interested in the chicken that has begun to strut across your path, the same one that pecked your boot in the autumn. She eyes you with the same judgmental stare. You have named her Marge, not out of affection, but out of necessity. A creature that rude deserves a name. The days grow longer. The sun returns, pale at first, then golden. The village begins to thaw not just in body, but in spirit. People smile more. They linger at the well, talking. The market returns in full, busier than ever. Stalls overflow with spring greens, early radishes, bundles of herbs, and baskets of eggs. The smell of fresh bread mixes with the smell of new grass and wet earth. You walk through the crowd, feeling the press of bodies, the hum of voices. It is overwhelming and wonderful. You buy a small wedge of cheese from a woman with a missing finger. It is sharp and crumbly, and you eat it slowly, savoring every bite. One afternoon, Bram takes you to the forest. It is the first time you have left the village since you arrived. The trees are tall and old, their branches laced with new green. The ground is soft with moss and fallen leaves. The air is cool and still. Bram moves through the trees like a shadow, his feet making no sound. You follow, clumsy and loud, snapping every twig. Pickle ranges ahead, nose to the ground. The forest is not empty. It is full of life, bird song, the rustle of small animals, the distant knock of a woodpecker. But there is something else too, something older. A silence beneath the noise. A presence. You feel it in your chest, a strange mix of awe and unease. Bram stops at a fallen tree. He sits, and you sit beside him. For a long time, neither of you speaks. The forest breathes around you. Then Bram says, "This is the edge of our world." He points deeper into the trees. Beyond there, no one goes. Not because it's forbidden, because there's nothing there for us. You look into the green darkness. It is not empty. It is waiting. You do not ask what for. You are not sure you want to know. That night, you dream of the forest. In the dream, you are walking through the trees, but they are not the same. They are taller, darker, their roots twisting like snakes. Somewhere ahead, a light flickers. You walk toward it, but it never gets closer. You wake with your heart pounding, Pickle snoring at your side. The fire has burned to embers. The night is still. You lie there, listening to the wind in the thatch, and you wonder what lies beyond the edge of the world. Spring gives way to early summer. The beans climb their poles. The herbs by your door spill over in a tangle of green. The air is warm, and the smell of flowers drifts through the village. The chapel bell rings more often now, marking not just Sundays but weddings and feasts and the occasional baptism. You have begun to understand the rhythm of the liturgy, the rise and fall of the priest's voice. You still do not know the words, but they have become familiar. They are part of the village's heartbeat. One evening, a wedding is held in the square. The bride is the daughter of the blacksmith. The groom is a farmer from a neighboring village. The whole village gathers, dressed in their best, which is not very fine, but full of effort. The music is loud and joyful. The dancing is wild. You are pulled into the circle by Edda, who moves with surprising grace despite her size. You dance badly, as always, but you laugh. The bride throws a wreath of flowers, and the children scramble for it. Ren catches it and wears it like a crown. The feast is simple: bread, cheese, roast fowl, and something sweet made from honey. You eat until your stomach aches. You drink the sharp, smoky ale and feel the warm buzz spread through your limbs. As the sun sets, the torches are lit. The square glows with firelight. The bride and groom dance alone in the center, their faces bright with joy and terror. You watch them, and something in your chest shifts. You think of your old life, the endless scroll of faces on a screen. You think of the loneliness you never admitted, the way you used to fall asleep to the glow of a phone. Here, there is no such loneliness. There is only the fire, the music, the press of bodies, the shared breath of 100 people who have worked and wept and laughed together. Pickle lies at your feet, his head on your shoe. You reach down and scratch his ear. He thumps his tail once. It is enough. The harvest approaches. The fields turn gold. The work intensifies. Everyone is in the fields from dawn to dusk. The scythes flash in the sun. The wheat falls in heavy swaths. You work alongside Bram, Edda, and the others, your body now hardened by months of labor. Your hands are rough. Your back is strong. You still fumble now and then, but no one laughs at you anymore. You are not the stranger. You are one of the hands. Tam works beside you, slower than the rest but steady. He does not speak often, but when he does, it is worth listening to. One afternoon, he tells you about his wife, who died many winters ago. He says she used to sing in the fields, and even the birds would stop to listen. He says he still hears her voice sometimes, in the wind through the wheat. You listen, and you do not know what to say, so you simply walk beside him, and after a while, he nods. It is enough. The harvest ends with a great feast. The village gathers in the square once more. The tables are piled high with bread and meat and vegetables. The air is thick with the smell of roasting meat and wood smoke. There is music and dancing and laughter. You sit with Pickle at your side, a cup of ale in your hand, and you watch the village celebrate. Ren runs up and throws his arms around your waist. You stayed, he shouts, as if he had doubted it. You laugh and ruffle his hair. I stayed, you say? And for the first time, it feels not like a decision, but like a fact. Autumn returns. The leaves turn. The air grows sharp. The work slows, but it does not stop. There is wood to split, hay to store, roofs to mend. The village prepares for winter like a creature fattening itself before hibernation. You help Bram repair the cottage roof. The thatch is old and full of holes. You learn to weave the straw, to tie it down, to seal the gaps. It is tedious work, but satisfying. When you finish, Bram stands back and looks at the roof. It'll hold, he says. You have heard those words before. They are his highest praise. Pickle is older now. There is gray around his muzzle. He sleeps more, runs less. But he still follows you everywhere. He still sleeps at your feet. He still farts without shame. You love him with a depth that surprises you. He is not a pet. He is a companion, a witness. He has seen you at your worst, cold, feverish, weeping in the mud, and he has never judged you. He has simply been there. You do not know how to thank him, so you scratch his ears and share your bread. One evening, as the first cold wind blows through the village, you sit with Bram by the fire. The dog sleeps between you. Bram is whittling again, the shavings curling at his feet. You watch the flames and listen to the wind. After a long silence, Bram says, "You could leave." It is not a question. You look at him. His face is lit by the fire, lined and tired. When you came, he says, "I thought you'd run. Or die. Or both." He pauses. You didn't. He looks at you. "You could leave," he says again. "But I'd rather you stayed." You do not know what to say. The fire pops. Pickle shifts in his sleep. The wind rattles the door. You think of the forest, the well, the fields, the chapel, the market, the faces. You think of Ren's smile, Edda's firm kindness, Tam's quiet grief. You think of Bram's rough hands and the roof that now holds. You think of your old life, so bright and noisy and lonely. You look into the fire and you say, "I'll stay." Bram nods. He does not smile. He just nods. But you can see something soften in his eyes. He reaches over and hands you the piece of wood he was whittling. It is a small bird, roughly carved but unmistakable. "For your shelf," he says. You take it. Your hand closes around it. It is still warm from his grip. That night, you lie in your bed of straw, the carved bird on the stump beside you. Pickle is curled at your feet. The wind moans through the thatch. The first flakes of snow begin to fall. You listen to the silence, and you are not afraid. You are home. Winter comes again, but this time you are not afraid. You know its rhythms now. The way the cold creeps in under the door, the way the snow piles against the walls, the way the wind moans through the thatch like a restless spirit. You know to bank the fire before sleep, to dry your boots by the hearth, to wrap your hands in wool before touching the iron handle of the well. The village settles into its winter quiet, but it is not the same as before. It is not the silence of strangers. It is the silence of family, of people who have chosen to endure together. The first heavy snow arrives in the night. You wake to a world erased, the paths gone, the roofs white, the sky a pale and endless gray. Pickle rises slowly now, his old joints stiff. He shakes the dust from his fur and steps outside with the careful dignity of a dog who has seen too many winters but refuses to surrender. You clear the path to the well, your body moving with the rhythm of the shovel. Push, lift, throw. Push, lift, throw. The work is hard, but it is familiar. It is almost a prayer. Bram works beside you. His breath plumes white in the frozen air. His face is lined and weathered, but his eyes are sharp. He says little, but his presence is steady. The two of you clear the path in silence. The only sounds the scrape of the shovels and the soft thud of snow. When you reach the well, he pauses and looks at you. "You've learned," he says. It is the highest praise he has ever given. You nod, too moved to speak. Then he claps you on the shoulder and turns back toward the cottage. You follow, Pickle trailing behind. The days are short and cold, but the cottage is warm. Edda brings a thick wool blanket, heavy as a bear's pelt. Hulda leaves a pot of stew at your door, enough to last 3 days. Ren visits every afternoon, his cheeks red from the cold, his pockets full of smooth stones and curious findings. He asks endless questions, and you answer as best you can. Sometimes he simply sits beside you by the fire, saying nothing, his small body warm against your side. You have become a fixture in his world, and he in yours. One evening, as the snow falls in heavy flakes, the villagers gather in the blacksmith's house. It is the warmest place in the village, the forge glowing in the corner like a captured sun. The room is crowded with bodies, thick with the smell of metal and smoke and wet wool. Someone brings out a pipe. Someone else produces a jug of ale. The stories begin, slow and meandering, winding through the night like smoke. Tam is there, sitting near the fire. He is older now, frielier. His hands shake slightly as he holds his cup, but his voice is steady when he speaks. He tells a story about the Great Flood, the year the river rose and swallowed the fields. He tells it with such detail that you can see the water climbing the walls, the animals struggling, the villagers standing on the chapel roof, watching their world disappear. He tells it not as a tragedy, but as a test. The water took everything, he says, but it did not take us. The room is silent. The fire crackles. You feel the weight of the story settle in your chest. This is what it means to belong to a place. You endure. You remember. You tell the tale. Then Edda sings. Her voice is low and rough, not beautiful in the way of trained singers, but full of feeling. The song is about a woman waiting for her husband to return from the sea. It is sad and slow, and you do not understand all the words, but you understand the ache. The room fills with the sound, and for a moment, no one breathes. When she finishes, the silence is thick. Then someone claps, and the spell breaks. You look at Edda, and she meets your eyes. There is a softness there, a knowing. She has shared something of herself, and you have received it. That night, you walk back to the cottage through the snow. The stars are out, sharp and bright in the frozen sky. Pickle walks beside you, slow but steady. The cold is bitter, but you are warm inside, full of stew and ale and stories. You look up at the stars and think of your old life. It feels very far away now, like a dream you half remember. You do not miss it. You do not wish to return. This is your life now, and it is enough. The days pass. The snow deepens. The work continues. You haul water, split wood, feed the animals. The hens are still alive, though Marge remains a menace. She has taken to roosting in your woodpile, as if daring you to disturb her. You have learned to work around her. Pickle ignores her entirely, which seems to offend her deeply. She pecks at his tail once. He does not even turn around. The village children laugh. Wren calls it the battle of the century. One morning, you wake to a strange sound. It is not the wind or the rooster. It is a low, rhythmic creaking, like a wheel turning. You sit up and look out the small window. The snow is falling, but beyond it, you see movement. People are gathering near the well. You pull on your boots and step outside. The cold hits you, but you barely notice. You walk toward the well, Pickle following. The villagers are standing in a circle. At the center, the well crank is turning by itself. The rope is taut, as if something below is pulling. The bucket rises slowly, creaking with each turn. The villagers watch in silence, their faces pale. The priest is there, his hands clasped. Bram pushes to the front, his face grim. You stand at the edge, your heart pounding. The bucket reaches the top. It is not full of water. It is full of stones. Smooth, dark river stones, glistening in the pale light. The crank stops. The bucket sways. No one moves. Then Tam steps forward, his old hand reaching out. He touches the stones, and his face softens. She returns, he says. His voice is quiet, but in the silence, it carries. He looks at the sky, then at the crowd. She returns, he says again. And then he falls to his knees. The crowd erupts in whispers. The priest begins to pray. Bram kneels beside Tam, his hand on the old man's shoulder. You do not understand what is happening, but you feel it, a shift in the air, a presence. The snow falls, but it is not cold. It is soft, almost warm. The bucket of stones glows faintly in the gray light. And then, as suddenly as it began, it is over. The crank lowers. The bucket sinks back into the well. The villagers stand in silence, looking at each other with wide eyes. Later, by the fire, Bram explains. The well is not just a well. It is a threshold, a place where the old ones speak. The stones are a sign, a blessing, a warning. Something is coming, he says. Something old. You do not ask what. You are not sure you want to know. Pickle lies at your feet, his head on his paws. The fire crackles. The wind moans through the thatch. And you feel, deep in your bones, that the world is larger and stranger than you ever imagined. The next morning, the snow has stopped. The sun is out, pale and weak. The village is quiet, but not with fear. It is a reverent quiet, a waiting quiet. People move slowly, speaking in low voices. The well is covered with a cloth, and no one draws water. Instead, they drink from the stream at the edge of the village, their buckets clanking against the ice. You help clear a path to the stream. The work is hard, but it grounds you. It reminds you that even in the face of mystery, there is always work. There is always water to haul, wood to split, fire to tend. Tam stays in his cottage. The priest visits him daily. Wren brings him soup and sits by his bed. You visit once, bringing bread from the market. He is thin and pale, but his eyes are bright. He thanks you, and then he says something that chills you. The stones are for you, he says. You shake your head. I don't understand. He smiles, a small, tired smile. The well knows you. It shows you. He reaches out and takes your hand. His grip is weak, but warm. When the time comes, he says, you will know what to do. Then he closes his eyes and sleeps. You walk back to the cottage in a daze. The sky is gray, the air cold. Pickle walks beside you. The village is quiet, the snow soft under your boots. You think of the stones, the well, the old man's words. You think of your old life, the screens and the noise and the endless questions. You think of this life, the cold and the mud and the mystery. You do not know what is coming. But for the first time, you are not afraid. You are ready. That night, the snow begins again. It falls in heavy flakes, covering the paths, the roofs, the well. The village is silent, wrapped in white. You sit by the fire, Pickle at your feet, the carved bird on the stump beside you. The wind moans through the thatch. The fire crackles, and you feel, deep in your chest, that something is about to change. The snow does not stop. It falls for 3 days without pause, a white curtain that erases the world beyond the cottage. The paths you cleared vanish within hours. The well is buried under a drift so deep that even the wooden frame disappears. The village huddles in its cottages, fires burning low, faces pressed to small windows. The silence is enormous, broken only by the wind and the occasional crack of a tree branch snapping under the weight. It is not a normal winter. Everyone can feel it. The air itself seems to vibrate with something unseen. You spend the days inside, tending the fire, pacing the small room, listening to the wind howl through the thatch. Pickle lies by the hearth, his breathing slow and labored. He is old now, so old that his eyes are clouded and his legs tremble when he stands. You sit beside him for hours, stroking his fur, speaking softly. He does not wag his tail as he once did, but he presses his nose into your hand. That is enough. Bram comes by on the second day, his cloak white with snow, his beard frozen into a mask of ice. He stomps his boots at the door and shakes the cold from his shoulders. The well is gone, he says. The stream too, maybe. He sits by the fire, warming his hands. You give him bread and a cup of hot water. He drinks slowly, his eyes on the flames. We have enough stored for a while. Rain barrels, root cellar. But if this doesn't break soon. He does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. You both know what he means. On the third night, the wind stops. The silence is so sudden it wakes you. You sit up, heart pounding, and look toward the window. The snow has stopped. The sky is clear, black and endless, thick with stars. The moonlight on the snow is bright enough to read by. You pull on your boots and step outside. The cold is sharp, but there is no wind. The village is still, buried under a soft white blanket. The moon hangs above the chapel like a pale coin. And then you see it. The well is not buried. It stands in the center of the village, completely clear of snow, as if something has kept it clean. The wooden frame glows faintly in the moonlight. The rope hangs straight and still. The stones around the base are dark and wet. You walk toward it, your boots crunching in the snow. Pickle does not follow. He stands in the doorway, watching, his old eyes reflecting the moon. You reach the well and look down. The water is far below, but you can see it, black and still, a perfect circle of darkness. Your breath hangs in the air. The moonlight catches the water, and for a moment, you see your own reflection staring back at you. But it is not your reflection. The face in the water is older, rougher, lined with weather and time. It is you, but not you. You reach out, your hand trembling, and touch the water. It is warm, so warm it makes you gasp. The reflection ripples, then settles. The face is gone. Only the dark water remains. You stagger back, your heart slamming. The wind returns, but it is not cold. It is warm, almost human, carrying the smell of earth and growing things. It circles you once, twice, and then it is gone. You stand alone by the well, breathless, the moon white above you. Something has changed. Something has awakened. The next morning, the thaw begins. The snow retreats as if afraid. The paths emerge, muddy and brown. The stream runs again, loud and fast. The villagers emerge, blinking in the sudden warmth, their faces full of wary relief. But Tam does not emerge. He has not left his cottage in days. The priest is with him, and Edda and Ren, who runs back and forth with cups of water and scraps of bread. You go to the cottage and stand at the door. Edda lets you in without a word. Tam is lying on his bed, his face pale as the receding snow. His eyes are closed, his breathing shallow. The room is dark and warm, thick with the smell of herbs and burning candle wax. The priest is kneeling beside him, murmuring prayers. Ren sits in the corner, his face streaked with tears. You stand in the doorway, feeling helpless. Then Tam's eyes open. He looks at you. His lips move, but no sound comes. You step closer and kneel beside the bed. He reaches out and takes your hand. His grip is weak, but urgent. The well, he whispers. It has chosen. You must. He coughs, his body shaking. Edda puts a hand on his shoulder. Rest, old friend, she says. But he shakes his head. No time, he says. You must listen. He tells you a story, told in fragments, broken by breath. Long ago, before the village had a name, the well was not a well. It was a spring, a sacred place where the old ones gathered. They left offerings there, stones, bones, small gifts of honey and bread. The spring gave water, life, and in return, the old ones gave their gratitude. But over time, the people forgot. They built a well. They covered the spring with stone. And the old ones grew quiet, waiting. But they are not gone, Tam says. They never left. They watch. They wait. And now, he closes his eyes. Now they have chosen a new voice. You look at him, uncomprehending. A new voice? You repeat. He nods. The stones in the bucket. The warm wind. They are speaking. And you. He squeezes your hand. You are the one who must answer. He falls back, exhausted. The priest resumes his prayers. Edda pulls you gently away. Let him rest, she says. You stumble outside, your mind reeling. That night, you cannot sleep. You sit by the fire, pickle at your feet, the carved bird turning over and over in your hands. The story Tam told has settled into your bones like a chill. The well has chosen you. But what does that mean? What are you supposed to do? You think of your old life, the endless noise and the endless silence. You think of the face in the water, the one that looked like you but not you. You think of the warm wind and the smell of growing things. You do not understand, but you cannot ignore it. The next day, the village gathers at the well. The thaw has continued, and the ground is soft underfoot. The well stands clear, its stones dark with moisture. The water below is high, almost to the rim. It shimmers in the pale morning light. The priest raises his hands and begins to pray. The villagers bow their heads. Bram stands beside you, his face unreadable. Edda is there, and Ren, and Hulda, and the blacksmith. Everyone is there except Tam. Then the water begins to rise. It does not spill over, but it swells, trembling, as if something below is pushing upward. The villagers gasp and step back. The priest stops praying. The water glows faintly, a pale blue light that seems to come from within. And then, slowly, a shape rises. It is a stone, smooth and round, larger than the others. It hovers above the water for a moment, turning slowly, and then it lifts into the air. It floats toward you, and the crowd parts. You stand frozen as the stone comes to rest at your feet. It is warm, radiating heat. You bend and pick it up. It fits perfectly in your hand. The villagers are silent. Bram steps forward. What does it say? He asks. You look at the stone, then at the well, then at the faces around you. You do not know what it says. You do not know what any of this means. But you open your mouth, and words come out, words you did not know you had. The spring remembers, you say. Your voice is not your own. It is older, deeper, full of echoes. The old ones are not gone. They have been waiting. And now they ask, will you remember with them? The silence is absolute. Then the priest falls to his knees. Bram follows. Edda, Hulda, the blacksmith. One by one, the villagers kneel in the mud. Ren looks up at you with wide eyes, then kneels too. You stand at the center, the stone warm in your hand, the weight of it enormous. And you realize, with a clarity that takes your breath away, that you have not just been chosen. You have been called. This is your purpose. That night, you sit by the fire, the stone in your lap. Pickle is asleep at your feet. The carved bird is on the stump. The world outside is quiet, the thaw whispering through the village like a secret. You think of everything that has brought you here, the strange waking, the cold floor, the grumpy dog, the endless work. You think of the faces, the stories, the laughter, the grief. You think of Tam, lying in his cottage, his old hand gripping yours. You think of the face in the water. You are no longer a stranger. You are no longer a visitor. You are the keeper of the well, the voice of the old ones. You do not know what tomorrow will bring, but you are not afraid. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. The fire crackles. Pickle sighs in his sleep. You close your eyes and listen to the deep, holy quiet. The village is still. The well waits. And you are home. The days after the stone rises are strange and quiet. The village does not speak of it directly, but everyone knows. They nod to you differently now, not as a stranger, but as something older, something chosen. The children still play, the work still continues, but there is a new reverence in the air. The well is no longer just a well. It is a shrine, and you are its keeper. Tam dies on the 4th day after the thaw. He slips away in his sleep, peaceful at last. The whole village gathers to bury him. The bell tolls, slow and heavy, and the sound rolls across the fields like a stone rolling downhill. You help carry the coffin, your hands steady under the weight. The grave is dug in the soft spring earth, near the chapel wall. The priest speaks the old words. The women sing. Ren stands beside you, his small hand in yours, and he cries without shame. You rest your hand on his shoulder and let him. After the funeral, Bram walks with you back to the cottage. Neither of you speaks for a long time. Then he says, "You'll stay." It is not a question. You nod. He nods. That is all. But it is enough. Spring returns in full. The snow is gone, and the fields are green. The well water is clear and sweet, and the villagers draw from it with quiet gratitude. The stone you took from the water sits on the stump beside your bed, always warm. You do not know what it is, but you keep it close. Sometimes, at night, you hear a faint humming from it, like a distant song. It does not frighten you. It comforts you. You become the keeper of the well in small ways. You clear the path. You keep the stones clean. You leave small offerings, bread, herbs, a smooth pebble, because it feels right. The old women approve. The priest blesses you. Ren follows you everywhere, asking about the old ones, about the spring, about the face in the water. You answer as best you can, though you do not always know. You tell him that some things are meant to be felt, not understood. He seems to like that. The months turn. Summer comes, hot and golden. The harvest is abundant, the fields heavy with wheat. The village celebrates with feasts and bonfires. You dance again, and this time you are not so clumsy. Pickle is too old to dance, but he lies by the fire and thumps his tail. He is very old now. His muzzle is white, his eyes milky. He sleeps most of the day, but he still follows you to the well each morning, slow but steady. One evening, as autumn creeps in, you sit with Pickle under the old oak tree near the chapel. The leaves are turning red and gold. The air is cool. Ren is chasing a goose nearby, laughing. You scratch Pickle behind the ears, and he leans into your hand. He has been your companion through everything. The cold, the fever, the loneliness, the wonder. You do not know how to say goodbye, so you do not say it. You simply sit with him, watching the light fade. That night, Pickle does not come to your bed. You find him in the morning, lying by the door, still and peaceful. His eyes are closed. His body is cold. You kneel beside him, and for a long time, you do not move. Then you bury him near the herb garden, under a small stone. Ren helps you. He cries, and so do you. The village gathers, and Edda says a few words. Bram rests a hand on your shoulder. He was a good dog, he says. It is the most tender thing you have ever heard him say. Winter comes again, but it is not as harsh. The snow falls, but it does not bury the village. You tend the fire, clear the path, draw water. But the cottage feels emptier without Pickle. You miss his warmth, his snoring, his quiet presence. You keep the carved bird on the shelf and the stone by your bed. And you carry on, because that is what you have learned to do. One cold morning, you go to the well before dawn. The sky is clear, and the stars are bright. The village is silent. You stand at the well's edge, looking down into the dark water. The face that looks back is your own. Older now, lined with weather, but also softer, wiser. You have changed. You are no longer the person who woke up in the straw, frightened and disoriented. You are someone who has hauled water and split wood and wept in the mud. You are someone who has been loved by a dog and chosen by an old well. You are a part of this place. You close your eyes and breathe. The cold air fills your lungs. The ground is solid under your boots. And then, without warning, everything shifts. You open your eyes, and you are not at the well. You are in a room with white, sterile walls and a glowing digital clock. The time reads 4:37 a.m. The sheets are soft and clean. The room is quiet, but it is the wrong kind of quiet. No wind, no fire, no rooster, just the faint hum of a refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic. You sit up, your heart pounding. Your hand reaches for the phone on the nightstand. It is there, cold and familiar. The screen lights up with messages, emails, notifications, the whole bright flood of the modern world. But your hands are not rough. They are smooth. There are no calluses, no dirt under the nails, no warmth from a stone. You look around the room. White walls, a window with blinds, a closet door, a rug on the floor. It is all so clean, so ordered, so empty. You swing your legs over the side of the bed and set your feet on the floor. It is not packed dirt. It is cold tile. No splinters. No stray bits of straw. You sit there for a long time, the phone glowing in your hand. You scroll without seeing. The messages are from people you barely remember. The emails are irrelevant. The news is the same endless noise. You put the phone down and press your palms to your face. You can still feel the rope of the well in your hands. You can still smell the smoke of the cottage. You can still hear Bram's voice, Edda's song, Wren's laughter, Pickle's snore. You lie back on the soft, comfortable bed and stare at the ceiling. The dream, or whatever it was, clings to you like frost on a window. You can still feel the weight of the bucket, the cold of the snow, the warmth of the fire. You can still see the faces of the village, the golden fields, the dark water of the well. You can still feel the stone, smooth and warm, in your palm. But it is gone. All of it is gone. There is no village, no well, no Bram, no Edda, no Wren, no Pickle. There is only this white room, this soft bed, this glowing clock. A hollow, terrible peace settles over you. You have survived the past. You have embraced its chaos. And now you are back in the modern world, with all its comfort and all its loneliness. But you are not the same. You will never be the same. You close your eyes in your cold, comfortable room, and you rest. Because you have survived the past. You have embraced its chaos. And for the first time in your life, you are warm, not just in flesh, but in spirit, because you remembered what it meant to truly live, one bucket of water at a time. The digital clock glows 4:37 a.m. The room is quiet, and somewhere, deep in your chest, a rooster crows.